Welcome to the Jeff Crilley Show. And now, here's Jeff Crilley.
Welcome back to the Jeff Crilley Show. So I run into people all the time who have a classic one-day novel syndrome, and that's, I'm going to write a novel one day, and that one day never comes. My next guest is a prolific writer. Ruth Glover has written books. She writes for magazines and newspapers. She's traveled the globe. Welcome to the Jeff Crilley Show.
Thank you for inviting me.
I got to ask about the elephant in the room, the suitcase. What does the suitcase symbolize?
Well, it symbolizes a lot of things, actually. It is part of the title of my book, Gift of the Suitcase, and it is all I wanted was a ticket when I graduated from college to go to France to learn to speak French better because I was trained as a French teacher. I only taught French 1 year, but what I learned in that year before I started has helped me throughout my life.
Okay, so this you were 21 at the time when you took this trip, and did you actually lose your own suitcase? Is this?
I lost it very early in the trip. I flew into London, and then when I went across the channel, I lost it. I thought it would be waiting for me in Paris, but it was not there. So I had one dress and a little packet of clothing in a bag. My mother, of course, had told me, you need to take underwear with you. And so I had some underwear and one T-shirt, but no extra slacks, and a dress that was very heavy.
And so years later, you drew on those experiences to write your book?
Right, because not only did I lose my suitcase, but within the first couple of weeks of my trip, my original trip, I lost my summer job. I went from Paris to Lyon, and then then I realized that the job wasn't working out, and I decided that I would call a lady that I'd been given her name before I left the United States, and her daughter had told me, my mom will help you. And she said, come to this little town in the central France, and we will help you. And I did it. I didn't want to go home, so I went to Chambon-sur-Lignon, and they took me in. And I was to find out that they had saved 3,500 to 5,000 Jewish children during World War II. Well, this was, I may be a senior citizen, but I'm not that old that I would have been there during the war. But I was able to get a job there, and they fed me and they clothed me, and they made me feel welcome, just like they had done the Jewish children.
Wow.
And they were Huguenots, which are a Christian, I don't want to call it sect, but a division which later became the Presbyterians.
Wow, and I know you do a lot of public speaking. You bring the suitcase with you when you speak?
I do, and sometimes with some of the groups that I talk to, I wear my little beret, and I talk about that. But my life turned very different. What did you want to do when you were 21 years old?
I was already on my path to become a TV reporter, so I knew what I was going to do.
You did know?
Yeah,
okay,
yeah.
well, I knew I wanted to be a teacher of some kind, and I figure I'm still teaching people through my writing.
That's beautiful. Well, let's give some inspiration to the people listening right now who say, gosh, I'd like to write a book, but I don't know if I'm disciplined enough. What's your process? How do you go about writing a book?
There are basically 3 different ways. One is that you go and look for an agent, and you query different agents to represent you, or you can go directly to the publishing companies and ask them. It's not common anymore for that to happen. It's a needle in a haystack. And then there is self-publishing, which is paying a company to help you with the book, something like Create Space or Book Baby, that kind of thing. And each thing costs you to do. But if you want to tell your story, which is what I wanted to do, that is the way that I went with this book. I didn't want to. I don't want to wait another 20 years to get this book out there. So it did take me 3 years to write it, and it took maybe 5 or 6 months to get through the process with self-publishing.
And did you find yourself calendaring in the time, or did you say, I am going to sit down, I'm going to write a chapter on Tuesday? What happened?
I tried to give it 2 hours a day, but sometimes life gets in the way, and you have to stop and deal with things in your family and doctor's appointments and grandchildren and things like that. But basically, since I had written a previous book, when I was working full time, I had written between 5 and 6 o'clock in the morning, and so I knew how to be self-disciplined, and that's part of making sure that you get that book out of you.
And if you have writer's block or you're just not feeling the inspiration, are those days where you just don't write?
It depends on the person. If you're a real self-disciplined person, you might go ahead, or that might be the day you go to a movie.
I like that. We'll absolutely have to have you back. So give everybody the website. How do people get a hold of you?
It's pretty easy. It's ruthglover.com. I have a monthly newsletter that is free, and I write about uncommon people and places, so I'm delighted to be one of your uncommon friends today.
I love it. Thank you so much. Coming up next, info on a huge party that you're going to want to be a part of. The details are just ahead on The Jeff Crilley Show.
You're listening to The Jeff Crilley Show on Talk Radio 1190.